Hello, welcome to the Real Internet Come Forth YouTube channel. My name is Internet Smith and I'm your author. Remember to get your books, get your books, get your books, people. Some of them are on sale at Barnes& Noble, Amazon, Google, Apple iTunes, Walmart.com, Target.com, Books A Million, Kobo, Indigo, and Tails. All of them come in paperback and digital version. Get your copies today. Do not forget about my new book release, My Jesus Experience, Our Journey. It comes with its own bookmark. Do not forget that all of my books come with their own bookmarks, and both of the book series come with its own loyalty card. Send me proof that you've purchased any of my products, and I'll get your bookmarks and loyalty cards out to you. Excuse me. We are reading from my new book release, Life After Losing a Child. It comes with its own bookmark. Today, we will be reading from chapter 7, titled Sibling Loss. Let's talk about the siblings that have lost a brother or a sister while under the care of their parents, meaning you were raised in the same house as your sibling that died or have a close relationship with them. Originally, I said I would write about my experiences as a sister losing two brothers and also about my children's perspective of them losing their brother. But my children are still in their grieving processes, and I, the mother, have just begun to open up to them about my process. Therefore, I will be writing from my own personal experiences of the death of my two brothers and how their deaths affected our family and my parents, then touch on my siblings. I say touch on my siblings because we never talked about our feelings concerning the loss of our brother in my mom's house. My brother that was lost on my father's side was grown with children, and I was 9 years old. So they didn't have conversations with me about his death, but my father did. So I guess I'll start with him first, since I was 9 years old when I lost him and 11 when I lost the brother by my mom. The death of my brother by my father. If you read volume 1 of my book series, The Real Internet Come Forth, you will read about the death of my sister, whom was stillborn, when I was 4 or 5 years old. But this brief story is about my father and my brother. I was very close to my father. I was his baby. My mother bore me when he was 52 years old, so I was a late in life baby. I was with my father when he got the news. 3 to 5 days before my brother's death, my father's dog would howl at night. My father would get out the bed and go and try to make him be quiet. But I noticed that it made my father upset. I said to him one night, "Why are you yelling at the dog? He's a dog." He said, "Because a howling dog, and that's not that a howling dog, but he's howling, and that's not a good sign." My father was very superstitious. He believed in old folk tales, witchcraft, palm reading, horoscopes, and so did my mother. And at the time, I was trying to believe in all of that as well. Excuse me. I asked, "What does that mean when a dog howls?" He said, "That means someone will die. It means death." I said, "How do you know that's true?" He said, "Because I have witnessed it." And he went back to bed. He went back to the door and tried to make the dog be quiet. This time he shot his gun in the air. I'm telling you, nothing worked. He sat at the table that night till late, and Lord have mercy, and my father's suspicion was confirmed. I had dozed off on the couch when my brother came beating on my father's front door. "Daddy, they killed him. They shot him, Daddy." My father said, "Who?" My older brother told my father the story that they were at a nightclub and this guy had an altercation with another one of my brothers, and he thought that he was seeking revenge for him. The shooter said it looked like my brother had a gun in his hand, but they were keys. My father just sat in the chair in the kitchen dismayed. I was standing at his side, and when I saw the look on my father's face, my heart dropped. We were devastated. This brother I was very close to. He always kept me for my parents. I stayed at his house for weeks to play with his children. I was just a couple of years older than his children. My father began to say, "This is not how life is supposed to be. This is the second son I have buried. Parents are not supposed to bury their children, but children bury their parents." And he stormed into his room. I watched my brother cry for the first time. We were distraught. By this time, other family members began to show up at our house, but I decided that day I would never go clubbing or partying because I didn't want my father to ever experience this loss again. When he went to tell his children, I was with my father, and he explained to his children how their father was killed, and he promised to care for them until the day he died, and not to worry, he would care for their mother as well. My heart broke triple because his wife was like she always told him he would get killed for something he didn't do, have a part in, or being at the wrong place at the wrong time. She was the very quiet lady, and for her to speak those words in tears, oh my God. She held her babies, all three of them, and kissed them and rocked them. I said, Lord, I don't ever want to experience this ever again. This shook my father to the core. I watched him change. He was never the same again. He tried to get back to himself, but he hid a lot of his hurt. He began to talk more about living a different life than all his children. He made me make several promises to him, and I listened, learned, and made every promise he told me. I vowed to fulfill each expectation he had of me from that moment forward. I have lived my entire life fulfilling my vows to my father, who is now deceased for 19 years. But no matter what obstacles came my way, I pressed past them with one thought in mind: to fulfill my vows and promise to my father. I never clubbed and told my children why. I raised my children in fear I received from 9 years old. I fashioned my life surrounding the death of my brother at 9 years old. This is how I know it is possible for people to live their lives with the intention of pleasing their parents to spare them more hurt and pain. I know because I did it with my father. 2 months ago, the Lord impressed upon me to write my father a goodbye letter that I might be free to live my own life, fulfill my own dreams and desires. This came about because I noticed that I was putting expectations on my husband that my father put on me. My husband is so sweet and kind. He would say, well, baby, we will discuss this and that and draw out our life together. But I was forcing my ideas and my father's will on him, and it was causing an issue in my marriage. Thank God for Jesus and prayer. He revealed to me the core of my problem and my solution to get free. I am free totally because I fulfilled every vow and promise, plus more than I promised. Siblings, please don't allow death of your brother or sister to alter the course of your life. Don't carry the burden to live their lives for your parents. You all suffer a great loss, and nothing you promise or vow can change that or bring them back. I think they will be more proud of you if you become the best version of yourself possible. The death of my brother by my mother. When I lost my brother from my mother, I was 11 years old, and this death was totally different from my adult brother's death. My brother by my mother. I was born and raised in the same house as he. He was the oldest brother, and I was the baby and the only girl. I was very close to my three brothers I grew up with in the same house. Excuse me. My oldest brother was very outgoing and popular in our community. He was one of the top break dancers in Kankakee County in his day, along with his friends. Here is my story. About a day before my brother's death, we were having a cookout in our yard. Nothing new for us. All of the family and friends always came to our house wherever we were hosting events or not. My mother's house was open to all. So was my father's house. They just loved to help people. So it was always someone living with us short term, long term, or just a few nights. It wasn't just limited to family, but strangers too. On this day, my cousin's new boyfriend attended our reunion. My aunt wasn't too thrilled with their arrangement. She thought he was too old for my cousin. I was a child chosen. I was the child chosen to attend dates with my cousins, and they couldn't go. They weren't allowed to go along for safety purposes and to avoid sexual contact. But we all know there was a way around everything and everyone. So they were about to go to the store, and I said, I'm going with y'all. My brother came to the car and told me to get out. I was like, why? I'm going to the store. He said, you get out of this car right now. And I got out, and he said to me, you never get into a car with a stranger. You hear me? I better not hear about or see you talking to a stranger. You understand? I said, yeah, but I know him. He goes with our cousin. He said, you heard what I said. Now, what do you want from the store? I'll bring it back. I said nothing and walked away upset. So next thing I knew, my cousin was coming toward the house where I was too. She said, they going to the store, Tukey. I said, how he gonna ride with someone he don't know, but tell us don't ride with someone, but tell us don't ride with them. She said, because he's listening to mama and your mama. So the cookout continued and the night came. My brother or the boyfriend didn't return from the store. My mom called my aunt in Kankakee, where my brother always went for the weekends, to see if he was with them. She said no, that he might come in the middle of the night. So the next morning, my mom called. He didn't show there or home. I told her he was probably with his girlfriend because I heard him talking on the phone. I had a phone in my room because I was the only girl, so I would eavesdrop on my brother's conversation with his girlfriend. My mom caught me and beat me to sleep for being nosy and disrespectful. I was 10 or 11 years old. My oldest brother was 17 years old. So she told my cousin to call and check with his girlfriend, who was her best friend. She hooked them up together. She called and she hadn't seen him either. He had called her that he was coming, but never showed. I could tell my mom felt something wasn't right. About 3 p.m., we were all sitting in the yard, my mom, her sisters, and all us children playing, when a car pulls up. It was my other cousin's boyfriend that my family definitely didn't like. He had beat my cousin up about 3 days ago, and my family was looking to beat him worse than he did her. So when he got out the car, outside our fence, still in the road, he said, please, please, please don't shoot. I know y'all don't like me, but please listen to me. I had a lady with me, he said, where is Real Richard? My mother said, what the H are you looking for my son for? Get away from here. He said, there has been a really bad accident. We was already standing, but we got quiet. He said this lady's son didn't come home last night and he was with Richard. So my cousin said, who is your son? She told us her son's name. My cousin said, I know him, but he don't hang with us. She said, my son was picked up in a burgundy two-door car by Richard. Now the police said there were 4 guys in the car, 3 dead and 1 is in critical condition. The only identification they found was my son's license, but they couldn't tell me if he was dead or alive. We have to come to Chicago Cook County Hospital to identify all 4 of them. She said, I can't drive to Chicago. Chicago was 75 miles north of Hopkins Park where we lived. So my mother said, okay, I'll get us to Chicago. My aunt and uncle were visiting from Houston, Texas at the time. My mother knew that our neighbors were from Chicago, so she sent me over there. I went over and saw the one who later would become my husband and children's father. So I said to him, my mom wants one of you to ride with us to Cook County Hospital. There has been a real bad accident and my brother is missing. 3 dead and 1 is in critical condition. He said, I'll come. He came over with me and my mother. They talked with my family for the details while my mom got dressed. The lady's family arrived at her house to trail us to Chicago in her own car. So we went. My mom, my dad, my brother's daddy, we picked up because he and my mom were divorced, so they co-parented us. My mother's 2 sisters and her husband, which the other family behind us. My mom called my brother's best friend, father, to notify him of the accident. So she told him she was going up there. He said to notify him once she had accurate information. All the way to Chicago, my mom hummed and sung gospel songs as she rocked in the seat. I knew in her heart of hearts that my brother was the one of the three that was dead. I knew my mom when she was worried or troubled. She sang and hummed a lot while cooking in the kitchen. At that that was her place. She played gospel music in her kitchen all the time, especially on Sundays. Her other music was down home blues, oldie but goodies, and R&B. She played in the living room and outside. Thinking about my mom in this moment, she just went on to be with the Lord about 6 months ago. We arrived at the hospital, first to see the one survivor in ICU. His face was swollen almost beyond recognition. It was my brother's best friend, Ricky Wyatt. When we saw that it was Ricky, our fears were confirmed. My mother said, "It's my baby that's down there." I told the lady, "It's your son down there too." My mom remained strong until shedding a few tears. My dad was in shock but still hopeful, he said. "Flo, you don't know that for sure. Let's just go down there." My mother said, they are always together. I was like, "I'm with my dad. I won't believe it until I see it." We arrived at the morgue, but they only allowed two people inside. So my mom and dad went in, and the other mother and her aunt all went inside. We waited outside in the van, my mom's other sisters, her husband, and our neighbor. I'm not sure how long we waited, but when they all came out, it was tears. My aunt was very sensitive. She had been crying since she heard of the accident, even more at the hospital, but now she knew for certain. My mom had to try to keep her calm while staying strong. She grabbed and hugged her. "Tuki, your brother is gone." "Yep, it's him." I said, "Mama, I don't know. You don't know that. Did you touch him?" She said, "Tuki, Curly, it is him. And the other guys in this lady's son and funny boyfriend." She didn't go into great details of everything this night. She only said to the police was chasing the car in a high speed and they were killed instantly. No time to suffer. My daddy just went numb. He was naturally a quiet man, very humble, soft spoken, gentle, loving. Totally opposite of my mom. My dad is my homeboy, my family man that only home that loves home, small crowds, just family social. But my mom was outspoken, loud, very social in the community, a lot of friends and family, strong, tough, independent, and a leader. The van was quiet the whole ride back. What do you say to a couple that has lost their 17-year-old son in a car accident while riding with someone he barely knew, with a small report that this guy was running from the police because of warrants? You wonder what went through their minds as they imagined their son in a high-speed chase, hopeless, imagining him and his friends telling this guy to just stop for the police to see what they want. Three guys that had never been to jail or arrested were now victim of another man's past, who was 8 to 10 years older than them all. These teenagers had no idea whose car they had got into, nor did they know their lives would end or change this night. I was thinking to myself, I knew my brother didn't ride this far with a stranger after making me and my cousin get out the car with the lecture about talking and riding with strangers. But I knew the one thing and only thing that would but I knew the one and only way I would know that if it was him was my brother that they claimed to be dead. Behind his right ear, he had a keloid from piercing his ear and wearing fake earrings. I said, "This is how I would know it's him at the funeral." So the next day, for the next few days, our families and friends grieved and planned funerals. And I'm going to end the chapter right there. Remember to get your books, people. Remember, we are reading from our new book release, Life After Losing a Child. And remember, until we meet again, God gets the glory and I tell the story. Goodbye.